fumbled over that. Don't go
See you
anywhere.
soon. Hey there, folks. Do you know what time it is?
Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. Pete and Jeremy's DnD. Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. Pete and Jeremy's DnD.
Pete and Jeremy, you know we're gonna have some fun playing. When we are amazed, Dungeons and Dragons.
Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. When we are amazed, Dungeons and Dragons.
Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. Come and have some fun, play D&D. Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. Come play some D&D with me. Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. So many fun things to do. Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. This is our invitation to you.
Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. Pete and Jeremy's DnD. Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime. Pete and Jeremy's DnD.
Hi, everybody. We're back and about to jump into our first adventure of the evening, one I've entitled Pot Break, which I know is going to get a lot of weed-related jokes, which has nothing to do with the adventure. But before we do that, as always, we're just going to take a brief moment and introduce all of our characters here. Learn a little bit about them, their abilities, their names, race, and class, that kind of stuff. So before we get into it, let's start with our first adventure in line here. We have a returning veteran. We have Oldman McWizardface. Oldman, welcome.
Hello, Pete.
Thank you for addressing me by name. So, Oldman, how are you today? What's new with you?
Well, I almost didn't make it. We had a little bit of an accident last night.
Oh, did you? What occurred? What happened?
Well, we went to see a magician, and it wasn't quite as safe as we thought.
By we, I assume that you mean yourself and Miracrantz.
Yes, of course.
Your Bay, if you will.
You see, the tickets were very cheap, and that was our first clue. But we put them in our pockets and I guess it was our clues. We got to the theater and it was very empty. That was our second clue. And they were our clues. And we saw the seats were scorched. That was our third.
That was the third clue. Okay, yeah, I'm following.
And we knew what to do. We sat in our seats and we would think and think and think.
Oh my God, Oldman. You kind of used your minds. I get it. And then, what happened next? What ended up happening with? I believe it was Marvolo. Yes.
We realized that we could do anything we want to do, include leave, but Mira insisted we stay, and he almost blew us up. Three times, in fact.
That sounds like a pretty harrying evening that you've had, but nonetheless, I'm glad that you're able to join us here today, that you're healthy and safe.
Yes, we waited for intermission, and then we skidooed out of there.
I'm noticing a kind of a theme here on this particular introduction, but Oldman, it is wonderful to have you back here tonight, joining us once more. I'm glad that you made it through this terrifying evening.
It's nice to be here, Pete.
Excellent. And coming up next, we have a brand new character here in the land of DnDTime, and if my eyes don't deceive me, you are a pretty interesting type of creature. We have Anadolita Bluebeads. Did I say that right, Anadolita?
Well,
it should be pronounced Anadolita Bluebeads.
Anadolita. Did I say it right that time?
Yes, Pete.
And-
yes.
Anadolita. So Anadolita, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? In particularly, your race is very unique.
Well, it's not really what one would call a true race, considering we're basically created from the souls of those who would have been departed. But in any case, because of our existence, such as myself, I was basically on a deathbed, and my patron, Confectia, was kind enough to bless me and the children suffering from a deadly epidemic the ability to live on, though in the body of a doll.
Indeed. So you are, were you a human child that has now been kind of bound to this doll by your patron?
Yes, among the many other Dollbounds in the world.
And I guess, I don't mean to sound rude with this question, but how do you feel about this? Like, do you like this doll body, or do you kind of wish that you had your old human body back? What's your kind of position on your state?
Well, to be perfectly honest, it's something in between, like what those people would call pros and cons. Well, the pros of it would be I wouldn't be able to feel or bleed as most flesh would. However, the cons of such is because of being in the body that doesn't truly decay as fast as flesh through age, though I'm still just as fragile when it comes to such frailty of a human soul.
Well, Anna, I'm sorry, I need it one more time. It'll take me probably one more to get it. Anadolita.
Correct.
Anadolita. Okay. We'll get there. We'll get it perfect before the day's over. Well, Anadolita, it is a pleasure to have you here tonight, and I look forward to seeing what you can do among Bartholomew's adventuring crew. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And next we have another returning character. We have Holly Tildrum, the Firbolg wizard. Holly, welcome back.
Hey, Pete.
How are you today, Holly? What's new with you?
Oh, I forgot my name for a second. I've been good. I'm just looking for my brother, wherever he went. It's been years.
Well, for one thing, you forgot your name. Are you feeling okay today, Holly? Or like is you just kind of just a little bit off?
It all happened after I ate that fish.
Oh yes, I remember last time we adventured. You had you ate some serious Swedish fish. Those are very high in sugar, and I think too many of those can definitely addle the brain a bit.
I may have came back for a few.
Oh my, you continued to eat them after the last time? Well, I mean, that's definitely risky, Holly. I'm glad that you're, like Oldman, it sounds like you had a little bit of a harrying experience, so I'm glad that you're safe. And you mentioned that you're looking for your brother.
Oh yeah, he's been gone forever. Well, he's been gone since I left. He's a druid, like every Firbolg. Geez, come on. But he's a dream druid. I don't know what that is, but I got a letter in the mail. Well, the forest mail. That's a thing.
No, yeah, of course. I know the forest. Everyone knows the forest mail. Yeah. What did the letter say?
I'm coming to find you. It was signed. Signed Morning Glory.
Morning Glory, Tildrum, perhaps. Well, that is a little bit ominous. But I guess also if that's just how you know your brother, maybe that's just how he is. Either way, Holly, I hope you do find him.
Thank you.
Welcome, Holly. Excellent. Next we have, last but not least, we have Tell me if I pronounce it right. We have Dith Iglo. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
Dith, welcome. So you're another brand new adventurer here among Bartholomew's adventuring troupe. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first about my name, not my given name. I was one day having a bowl of alphabet soup, as one does, and I decided to spill it, and then the letters happened to match up, and that became my name.
Now, so this was you. So Dith Iglo, that was not the name that you were born. This was a name that you took on yourself later on.
Yeah, so I ran into a bit of trouble, and I needed to change my name.
Was this kind of like a spur of the moment decision? Like, I feel like in my brain, I guess I'm imagining a situation where someone kind of walked in and demanded to know your name, and that was just kind of what you came up with, or was this like a very calculated sort of this is the kind of random number generator, so to speak, that I will use to determine what my name is?
Oh yes, it was definitely the random letter generator that is alphabet soup. I show you.
Go ahead.
You may notice me in the future with different names, but
well, I look forward to seeing some of these future names. And tell us, Dith, tell us a bit about your skill set. What do you offer? What brings you out on adventures? What do you want to explore the world for?
well, I like to play the violin, and I get chased from kingdom to kingdom after going visiting and playing the violin a bunch, and just general bard stuff.
Well,
Occasionally stealing from his vault.
oh man. Well, I certainly respect that, and it is good to have you among us. I welcome you tonight, Dith. And also, just so you know, your voice got kind of weirdly muted there at the end. You sounded very good, but then it was all of a sudden kind of, it's back to normal again.
My bad.
No
I do
problem.
have a tendency to talk very quietly.
No, well, you're certainly fine now. All right, well, that is everyone. So let's, without further ado, kind of hop into our first adventure tonight. For those of you who aren't aware, kind of the resident sort of quest giver here at DnDTime, Jeremy mentioned this on the intro, but his name is Bartholomew. He's a very powerful wizard, and he kind of hires all of these adventurers and sets up quest contacts and sends you all over the land of DnDTime. Where your adventure begins today, Bartholomew has sent all of you to a city called Central City. It is the largest city within the land of DnDTime. It is kind of a sprawling metropolis, and through various kind of technologies that a lot of the people of Central City have picked up from the gnomes farther east, there are things like motorized carts, arcane street lamps that light the sides, towering buildings 20, 25, 30 stories tall. But the place that all of you have been sent to is a much it's a much more humble location than a lot of the kind of surrounding areas that you're at. You've been sent to a particular merchant, a man named Peytr. Not myself, but a place called Peytr's Pot Emporium. There in Central City. It's kind of a small, as you all approach, you can see it's kind of a small wooden building behind it. There's a pretty large, what looks like large, too big to be a shed, too small to be a warehouse, that seems to be kind of connected to it at the back. And just kind of a simple wooden sign hangs and just kind of creaks in the wind as you get closer. The reason that you've been sent here is apparently the owner and proprietor of Peytr's Pot Emporium, Peytr, has encountered a pretty rough creature that's been inhabiting some of his pots, apparently, and he needs you to take care of it. So where you officially start is stepping into the Emporium. As you walk into the shop, all around you, you can see sort of pots of different sizes and shape. They're all very beautiful. They're all ceramics, but they're painted in very different and elaborate ways. You kind of get this overwhelming smell of clay and kind of drying paint as you walk in. Shelves line, there's different sizes and shapes, kind of a simple counter, and then what looks like a fairly just a fairly normal looking elven man that's kind of standing behind the counter. And he looks to be kind of in the process right now. He has the wheel out, and he's in the process of shaping a new pot as you enter. He's a thick apron on, and he greets you as you approach. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. What can I do for you today?
You're from Bartholomew's shop.
The city sucks.
This is my home.
The city is
Well, it
loud,
sucks.
but it's... can you say that again? You had that kind of muted quality again.
Old man, do you need a throat lozenge?
Oh,
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Well, anyway, I
This
guess I'll
place
talk.
reminds me so much of those Dollbound repair shops.
he looks down. He kind of looks down at all of you as he's kind of spinning the pot. Puts it aside a little bit and says to all of you, "So you're not here to purchase. I had sent in a request. You're from Bartholomew's adventuring troupe."
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
That
By the way,
is-
do you
Yes.
keep? I just have one question. It's a question I have to ask in every pottery shop. Do you keep gems in your pots?
He looks at you, and it's a strange look he gives you back. He looks somewhere in between frustrated and confused, and he just goes, "I didn't."
So you didn't, but you do now?
I do today. You see, the reason I called you here, actually, is I have been beset by every potmaker's greatest rival. The bane of a potmaker's existence. A pot fiend.
Does he wear green clothes?
He does not.
Oh, wrong pot fiend.
You're thinking of a different pot fiend. You're thinking of, well, I'm hoping that you're speaking of the hero of legend, the breaker of pots, yes?
Indeed.
Yep.
I was hoping you all might fill a similar role today. You see, the pot fiend is the devilish entity that goes around putting things inside of pots and then sealing them tight.
I've always fancied myself as a pot breaker.
Accurate name.
Now, the things that he puts in pots, certainly there have been times in the past where people have run into a bit of luck where the pot fiend puts some kind of a great giant ruby or other kind of just pile of gold within a pot, but that is not always healing potions. That is not always the case. More often than not, they put dangerous things inside, pots that explode when you break them open. He got into my warehouse, and he has infested every single pot within. I closed the door, so he's stuck in there somewhere. The pots that I have in my show floor here are safe. But the ones in there, they're already lost. You see, as I said, he seals the top shut. It's a magic so binding it cannot be broken open, or it cannot be opened normally, so the only way to go into the pots is to break them. And, well, he's in there somewhere still. I need you to kill him. As I said, the pots are gone. Don't worry about the merchandise. Just make sure that I never have to see that blasted pot fiend there again.
How do you feel about the warehouse? Do you want it? Is it okay if that gets damaged or disappears?
I need the warehouse for certain. If it gets damaged a bit, I'll chalk it up to business expenses. But completely destroyed would be unacceptable.
I guess bombs are out then.
If I may, once we get into the warehouse, I'd like to see about something.
By all means, do you have a question for me? I do not wish to go in there. Pot fiends are dangerous. I'll lead you to the door.
Thank you, good sir.
And he says, it's just back here. He leads you through a kind of a short back room. And then you can see just kind of a regular square wooden door. There's kind of a window through leading into a short hallway, and then it opens up into the larger warehouse. It's somewhere through there. If you have any questions for me, please ask now. But as I said, I do not wish to enter in the... As I said, the fiend is a terrifying creature.
I do have one question.
Yes, please.
Do pot fiends favor snakes?
He thinks... It's not entirely uncommon.
Excellent.
Then I guess I'll have one question before entering this place, and that is, could you at least describe what this thing looks like?
Oh, yes. I'll never forget, I saw it with my own eyes. It was impish in nature, red, devilish horns on its head. But along its body, it wore this strange armor. It looked like plated ceramics that wrapped up and around it. It was tall, but as it jumped into pots, it seemed to almost shrink down in size.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much.
Well, we will do our best to rid you of your pot fiend problem and try to not damage as much as possible.
That would be appreciated. Again, like I said, the pots are pretty much done. They're pretty much unsalvageable because the tops are glued to the top, so I have to break them anyway to just do whatever you want. As long as the warehouse it still stands. I'm just trying to cut my losses here.
Well, let's get on with it then.
All right, so you enter into the warehouse?
Yes.
Into the warehouse.
And I
Very good.
immediately stop out at the door and pull out my flute.
Okay. You take out your flute. You said you want to do this before you entered into the door?
No, this is as we're entering.
Okay. All right, so the door kind of slowly creaks open, and you enter into the warehouse. It's pretty dim. A couple of torches light the walls, but they look like they're starting to burn out, like they've been going for a while, and he just hasn't been in here. The pots... you can see as you start to enter, there are several shelves where pots are all just kind of stacked up. And those are kind of more along the side walls, pots just aligned in rows along the floor. You see one like really huge pot that's kind of at the center of the room. And like I said, there's just a variety of shapes, sizes, colors. The huge one is probably like 15 feet tall. Along the back of the room, there's like another kind of floor with a ladder going up to a landing that has more pots just kind of resting on the floor, and then more underneath it. And as you all enter into the room, you look, and immediately across the other side of the room, you see something that fits exactly the description he just had of the pot fiend, who looks at you kind of awkwardly, and you see him actually dropping some snakes in the pot. And he looks over at you all just kind of like confused and a little bit like startled. What do you all do?
I immediately greet him, giving him a bow and a curtsy.
A bow and a curtsy. He kind of calls over to you, finishes putting the snakes in the pot. He goes, "Just finishing up here. Good to see you, though. That's very respectful." And as he says that, the snakes drop in, and then he also jumps into the pot. And you see his kind of tall, skinny, and like weird-looking body, all with these ceramics. Just kind of, it almost seems to like get sucked into the pot, and almost like a genie being pulled into a lamp by smoke. He disappears into it, and the pot lid closes. It's just kind of like wiggling for a second, and then it kind of goes still.
Well, I suppose we know where he is. After that pot.
Unless he's just like teleporting from pot to pot. You know, sometimes they do that.
I think at this point I'll just take a pose, just like standing, to imitate a inanimate doll.
Okay. You're just kind of pretending to be a doll. Just kind of leaning against the wall.
Yes.
Okay. So since I've confirmed the presence of snakes, I'm going to pick up my flute and do my best to play my best snake charmer tune.
Okay. Go ahead and make me a performance check. Or this is actually probably more of an animal handling check, I think, because you're specifically trying to kind of charm the snakes. All right, yeah. You begin to play. Your flute kind of resonates throughout the room. There's actually surprisingly decent acoustics in there because it's a fairly open space. And as the flute plays, you don't really see any reaction from any pots, in particular the one that you just saw the snakes disappear into.
Oldman reaches into his bag, secretly casts light, creating an orange light on a stone, takes it out along with a sling and says, "Firebolt!" and tosses it at the pot.
At the one that he just disappeared into?
Yes.
All right, you kind of sling your sling around a little bit, and you toss it, and it smashes perfectly into the pot. Actually, no. At this distance, roll the hit. Yeah, perfect shot. You fire the stone into the pot, and it, with a satisfying pot smashing sound effect, it shatters. And within, you see the snake kind of hiss out and start kind of moving across the room towards all of you. However, the pot fiend is no longer apparently inside this particular pot.
That was pure fire, boys!
Could I use Speech of Beast and Leaf to ask the snake to not, please?
You want to speak? You want to speak to the snake? All right, the snake's kind of slithering up towards you. Go ahead and what do you say to the snake as he gets closer?
I don't like snakes. Please go away.
Fair enough. Go ahead and make me an animal handling check, or I guess since you're speaking to him directly, I'll let you make it a persuasion check if you would like.
I'll do that because I missed that one.
Yeah, he kind of looks up at you and just, "I don't like you," and is going to slither up to you and attempt to bite you. Why don't you guys roll for initiative?
But before they do, I like to activate my Art Fey ability, Fey Presence.
Okay, since that has a casting time, I believe, I think it's still going to be initiative to see if you can get it off before this snake goes and bites. So why don't you roll us up some initiative, Anadolita. Where initiative is on your character sheet. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, cool. So yeah, you absolutely get this off. You kind of fire up your Fey presence. So it's going to make a wisdom saving throw.
Charisma, I think. Wait, let me check. Yes, wisdom.
All right. Oh wait, I did charisma. That's my bad. I'll let it. Yeah, I'll re-roll it and do wisdom. All right, yeah. So it definitely fails. Which effect? I believe it's a charm or a fear. Which effect are you making on the snake?
I would like them to be frightened of me.
Okay. So you kind of in this resting doll state, all of a sudden pick yourself up off the wall and call out with this strange kind of incantation, which. The snake, as you do so, it's moving in to bite you, Holly, and then it just stops dead and kind of raises itself back, and you see it get into a very defensive state, kind of rearing back on its neck. Dith, you recognize this from your snake charming days. It's angry, but it's also, it feels very threatened right now as it stops dead in its tracks from this effect. As it passes now to your turn, Dith.
Who frightened the snake?
Yes,
I'm looking at him, and he seems very friendly normally. Anyway, maybe he doesn't like the flute. Maybe he'll prefer the violin. I'm going to switch instruments as I walk behind and kind of slowly back away. Not in a non-threatening manner.
Okay, I'm going to say you have advantage on this check. Go ahead and make me an animal handling check with advantage. Oh man, yeah, the snake kind of fearing Anadolita, and Holly. You wanted to bite Holly, but you offer kind of what appears to be sort of respite as you're moving around. How are you moving throughout the warehouse? Are you being like kind of careful to avoid pots, kind of taking it slow, or are you just kind of barreling through and not caring about any of the consequences of your movement?
I mean, Dith is taking it carefully. He prefers to not break things unless it's in the grand finale.
Fair enough.
Holly wants to toss a pot across the room.
Okay, well, 1 second. As you go and do that, but the snake kind of follows you back and moves away, and you see it at this point. It just kind of like curls itself up, and it's just kind of looking at you expectantly. It seems that you have to some degree even tamed this snake. And as you kind of do that, and the snake is no longer a threat, Holly reaches down and picks up a pot and throws it. Are you aiming for just like another pile of pots? Is that kind of your plan?
Yeah, I'm just gonna cause chaos.
All right, you just kind of open up the floodgates and take a pot and chuck it across the room. Go ahead and make me a strength check. You take a pot and you go to toss it across the room and just kind of basically slam dunk it into the ground. I would like you to make me a dexterity saving throw.
Can I portent that?
Yeah, do you want to get your automatic, what was it, a 13?
It was a 14.
Yeah, automatic 14, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I think the other, you guys are all kind of still huddled up next to the entrance, except for Dith. So I think it's also going to be needed to be a dexterity saving throw from.
Oldman is going to follow Dith and do. This is the perfect opportunity, and stick to his nature and sketch the snake.
Okay, you go over to Dith, but since that hadn't happened yet, I still need you to make me a dex save, as well as Anadolita. I need you to make one as well. Actually, I'll let you out of it, Anadolita, because you were kind of farther against the wall you had said originally.
Okay.
Hurry, old man, hurry.
As you smash the pot on the ground, out of it, just like a hail of thorns spreads out, and just these small kind of needles just spray everywhere in the area around you. You suffer, well, both of you suffer 5 points of piercing damage as these needles just kind of explode in the space. A few of them kind of reach out and stick into other pots, but it's not strong enough to destroy any other pots. Oldman, you take some needles, but you get over next to Dith. The whole kind of interior space of this, it's about a 40-foot cube. Not the ceiling, but...
Did I take 5 as well?
You took 5 as well. Oh, actually, no. You took half because you succeeded on your save with 14. So you only took 2 points of piercing damage. Nice.
So who all took 5 damage?
Not you. Just the only one who took 5 would have been Oldman, and he took 2. Holly did. What are y'all doing?
Holly's not going to apologize.
This is going to ignore the doll and feed the snake while giving it a good pat on the head because it's a good snack.
Yeah, the snake kind of is just kind of like hissing towards you, and as you kind of reach out and feed it, it accepts the food. What do you give it?
A little bit of the meat for my rations.
All right, cool. Yeah, you feed it some kind of like dried like jerky, and it accepts it pretty gratefully. make me a check with your artisan's tools, Oldman, to see your quality snake sketch.
You mean my drawing? What do you want me to roll?
What are Holly and Anadolita doing at this point?
At this moment, I'm going to be attempting to cast Blade Ward on myself.
All right, you do so without issue.
Holly's gonna pick up another pot, but not throw it.
You pick one up over your head. You're just kind of just grabbing anyone right in front of you.
I want one without any needles in it.
Okay. You just pick one up right in front of you is what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you got one. Just holding on to it for now?
Yeah, just for now.
And after, if it's possible, could I also make a Arcana check to at least try to sense if there's any other magic, or at least the types of different magics within any of these pots?
That would be beyond, I think, the limits of Arcana, like actually sensing magic. If you had like a detect magic spell, that's something that you could do. But you could, make an Arcana check to like learn about the nature of the magic that like seals them or something like that. But you couldn't like be like, this one has this kind of magic.
Then I believe I shall do that then.
All right. 14. All right. So yeah, you're kind of looking around, moving kind of slowly among the pots. With your small size, a lot of them are kind of about the same height as your head. You're working through and just examining them. It seems to be a pretty powerful, or actually not powerful. It seems to be a pretty weak. What's the term? A weak. The type of magic that is in sealing and protecting, abjuration magic, which is kind of pulling them closed. You think it might be like even the lowest level of dispel you think would get rid of this magic easily. It's just kind of impressive that the scale of it is so quick. And as you're moving around, are you moving carefully, I assume, or are you just kind of moving recklessly? Basically, this space is difficult terrain. Unless you want to ignore knocking over pots, in which case you may move, but you will probably knock over pots.
Well, I'm most likely going to be careful considering I'm rather small and frail.
All right. So at this point, as you're all kind of doing this, what are your passive perceptions?
10.
13.
10.
12.
Well, you are in luck because you were the person who was going after Dith. And Dith, you're kind of in the process of taming the snake. And Oldman, you react a little bit too late. You're kind of there drawing it, but you see rising out of a pot behind Dith. You see this pot fiend reaching out with these two kind of long, sharp claws. It's ceramic armor going to reach out and swipe at Dith. You catch it as well. So this creature does not get a surprise attack against you. It will roll its own initiative, but it still has the upper hand in this instance, as it moves with a little bit too much celerity. You're aware of its presence, doesn't have advantage. And does a 13 hit?
Armor class 13.
Yeah, that just hits then. It swipes at you with its claw, and it kind of rakes across your body, dealing 3 points of slashing damage. Sorry, I forgot to write slashing.
Ow! How rude.
That was rude. I saw it. Do you mind if I sketch you?
And he goes, not at all. And then ducks back down into the pot.
Well, then I'll be coming in there after you.
The next in initiative, because we're going to be keeping the same initiative throughout this, the next in initiative was Anadolita. You're over there kind of examining these pots, seeing what you can learn, and you hear that kind of ruckus over on the corner as the pot fiend appears and then ducks back down into the same pot. What do you want to do?
Do I get... one moment. Would I be able to cast Hex upon it during that time?
You do have to have sight on a creature to cast Hex on it.
within range. So if I see it just before, would I be able to do so?
It's already kind of my question is because it's already kind of ducked back down into the pot. So it's just a question. Yeah, it's unfortunately I'm looking at now. It's any creature you can see. It just kind of like jumped up and slashed and then jumped back down to the pot. So you'd have to like open the pot in order to be able to see it. But you could walk over and try and do that.
I think I'll pass upon that, but instead I would like to try. One moment. I want to see if I could try to just towards. Well, actually, before that, how far apart was the original pot it jumped in and the pot it came out of?
About 15 feet or so.
Yeah, I want to attempt to strike a pot within 15 feet, going towards the same, I guess, direction from the pot it just ducked back down in.
Okay, so you're just gonna pick another pot, but not the one that it went into?
Correct. Just one within 15 feet, but like going from like in a similar direction from the original one to where it just jumped in, and then to my target.
All right, go for it. Go ahead and make me an attack roll.
All right, one moment.
If you're using a cantrip, you need to do it on the front page of the thing. The Roll20 is just kind of bugged like that. It'll be under your attacks. Perfect. Yeah. All right. So you lob sort of a spell of cold energy, targeting a point on the pot in the far corner of the room. You watch as the pot kind of grows frosty and brittle, and then just kind of shatters. And within it, it does not appear that the pot fiend was within it, but out of it, you hear kind of like a snarling boar appear, which also will roll initiative.
Stop breaking pots before we gather them all in one place.
And that, do you want to move anywhere, Anadosha, or do you want to stay where you are, kind of a little bit farther away from the pot the creature just disappeared into?
I would like to try to hide within around much larger pots than me.
Okay. There's one pot that's in particularly massive. If you'd like to hop behind that one.
I believe that will be a good choice.
Cool. So you run over and duck behind the really big pot, and that is going to bring us to. I believe it. Who was it next?
I think it was Holly.
It was. No, I'm sorry. It was Dith next.
Okay. Dith, annoyed that the creature was so rude after he gave him a bow and a curtsy, make sure the steak is all right, and proffers his arm to it.
The snake slithers and kind of coils itself up your arm.
Great. Turning around, I look at the pot that it had just disappeared into. How big is the pot?
It's about 2 feet tall. Very round one, bright blue.
Okay. I tilt the pot so that the opening is facing away from me and try to pull off the lid.
Go ahead and make me a strength check. The lid is sealed on extremely tight, and you go and pull, and you feel it starting to give, and there's something like pulling from the other side of the pot, but it appears the sealing magic it's using on it hasn't fully taken effect yet, and you rip the lid off of the top of the pot, and you can kind of hear the creature within now kind of, and you rip the lid off the pot. You still have a bonus action and a move if you would like to do anything with those.
All right. I go ahead and put the pot down and back away about 5 or so feet and ask, "Hey there, how you doing?"
Just fine, thank you.
Mind coming out?
I'll be out in a minute. And that is going to bring us to, I believe now it is, now it is the, now it is your turn. Now it is your turn, Holly. What do you wish to do?
I'm going to use Firbolg magic, which allows me to cast either Disguise Self or Detect Magic once a day without using a spell slot. To try to figure out what's going on with the magic I have inside my pot that I'm holding.
Okay. Your magic, it appears to have the magic in the pot that you're currently holding. It has a light abjuration magic on it, as well as kind of deeper within the heart around the lid, and then deeper within the heart of the pot. There appears to be a powerful enchantment. Enchantment magic. Additionally, you sense abjuration magic all around you, as well as tons and tons of other strange magical sources coming out of different pots. And you also feel a magical presence from where the pot fiend is.
Okay, can I toss my pot at the pot that the pot fiend is in?
Go ahead and make me a strength check. That's going to be a tough. That's going to be a tough throw. You take your pot and toss it. Your pot explodes, and you see laying on the ground out of your pot, there seems to be a brilliant gleaming sword. But you don't quite make it all the way to the target. Instead, you crash into a different pot, which also explodes, and just kind of this flash of brilliant light. I would like everyone to make me a Constitution saving throw. If you rolled below a 10, then you are blinded until the end of this next round, as the light just completely fills the area that you are in. The boar will have to roll as well.
I'm sorry, I'm a mistake.
But yeah, there's a really cool looking sword there if you want to take that.
I would love it.
All right, you walk over and pick up this sword. You can feel powerful magic emanating from it. That is going to bring us to next. I believe it was Oldman.
It's the boar's turn, actually.
Oh, the boar was before you? Okay. All right, the boar, having not really all that much heed for kind of the surroundings and the various pots, starts just kind of plowing through the area, and you watch as he does, pots just start to just kind of fly aside and knock over, and with each new pot that kind of goes down, with each new pot that goes down, there's just another kind of strange effect occurs. You watch one of the pots kind of crashes over and flames kind of pour out of it. Another pot crashes and you see just a sudden kind of like swarm of butterflies that flies up and are now just kind of like filling the ceiling. They're like dense, almost creating like clouds up above you of butterflies. Another one knocks over and just you just hear like kind of a crinkle of coins beneath it. But it runs after and rams straight up towards you, Oldman, who it's going to make an attack against. Does a 5 hit? I assume not.
It also gets disadvantaged, blinded. Not that it matters.
Oh yes, that is true. Yeah, the boar just kind of still kind of reeling from the bright flashing light, runs past you. You duck fairly easily out of the way, not being blinded by the flashing light. As it now passes to your turn, the pot fiend is still kind of hopping around in his own pot.
Oldman walks up to the pot fiend's pot. Would getting into the pot be movement or an action?
Getting into the pot?
Getting into the pot.
Okay, you go and you're just gonna go and put your leg into it. It would be movement, I would say. You go and stick your leg into it, and the pot fiend, who's you see he almost looks like he's perfectly filling the inside space of the pot. His body is just smushed into it, and he just kind of goes, ow!
I'm sorry, you said I could draw you. I need you in a better position.
Well then hold on a second, okay?
Let's nicen you up a little bit. Don't make us charm person on the little fiend.
Alright. He is going to make a wisdom saving throw. Where's my boy? Oh, there he is. He fails. He looks at you, and he just goes, you could see that there was a decided hostility in his eyes. And actually, you guys technically haven't done anything harmful to him yet. Yeah, so there was decidedly a bit of hostility in his eyes, which kind of softened as he looks at you and sees you're an old man. He just goes, listen, old timer. I don't want to hurt you. Why don't you just get out of here?
Why don't you get out of there so I can draw you?
Okay. And as it passes now back to the top of the initiative, which I believe is his turn, he will just kind of duck into his pot, and he just kind of disappears from that pot, and you see him just kind of gone. It seemed almost like being drained down a drain. He just kind of disappeared into the pot. But he is still, you can feel that the spell is still in effect. He is still charmed by you, meaning he will not be able to attack you. But he doesn't seem to want to reveal himself completely at this point.
What a bad model.
That is going to bring us to Anadolita. What do you want to do? Chaos is starting to break out within here. This boar is charging around, knocking over pots left and right.
Yes, I believe I'll attempt to bring down the boar using my light crossbow.
All right, go ahead and make an attack roll. That's certainly going to hit. Roll damage on that. The way you roll damage is you click on the word light crossbow where it appeared in chat. Oh, wow, nice. So 10 points of piercing damage. Your crossbow bolt flies across the room and sticks into the boar, which lets out just kind of this nasty squeal. It's limping, it's barely dragging itself around, but it still appears to be alive. Is there anything else that you would want to do? But you've significantly weakened this thing. Anything else on your turn?
Yes, I believe just to prevent any more destruction from the boar, I have to use a bonus action with, excuse me, 1 second. Yes, actually, never mind. I'll just say I'll try to move around to another portion of the place.
The big one? Okay.
I believe I'll try to head towards where there's that upper floor, I believe you mentioned?
Yep, so you kind of move over. If you're moving carefully, you're able to get to the ladder, but not climb up it.
Yes.
But you can be you're at the base of the ladder where you're in your turn. Cool. That's going to bring us to, next was Dith. Dith, what would you wish to do?
All right, Dith, now blind as well, is very annoyed.
Yes.
But, he prefers pacifism by music. So he goes ahead and puts Sally, his new snake, on top of his head, whispering to it, "You're going to have to be my eyes now, Sally," and brings the flute to his lips and starts to try his best to play at a pitch that will cause the pots to vibrate and break.
Do you have an ability that would facilitate this?
No.
Dith. Okay.
No. He just is doing his best to play the flute.
Fair enough. Go ahead and make me a performance check. It's gonna be tough, but we'll let you try it. Make a performance check for me. 21. You know, the high, just somehow you find it in particularly fragile pot, and the kind of high, like shrill note that you're playing on the flute, while still beautiful, is piercing enough. And you watch as slowly the pot cracks and eventually shatters under this note. Everyone else has to block their ears a bit, and you hear on the other side of the room. The pot fiend and whatever new pot it's coming to, which you cannot see but only hear. It just, please stop that. And that's probably gonna be it for your turn, unless you want to move.
Nope. I just spend my movement patting my snake.
Okay, and that's gonna, at the end of your turn, you are no longer blind. Holly.
Oh, I guess I'm blind, but I don't know how long Detect Magic lasts.
Detect Magic is still up. That lasts a whole 10 minutes. So you got Detect Magic for a while.
Okay. Does it count as blind sight?
In this instance, where you're surrounded by so much magic, I will say that it's a little bit like blindsight. I think you could make an argument for it. It's not like perfect, and you're still like stumbling a little bit. You don't like know the shape of the floor, if there's anything you're going to trip on, but you know where enough pots are. So you can kind of navigate your way around.
Can I still detect which pot the pot fiend is in?
Yeah, you felt a conjuration magic where the pot fiend was, and then you felt that same conjuration magic at a different point in the room. So you have kind of like, you're not pinpoint, but a good idea of where the pot fiend went to. Plus, you heard the sound of him complaining about the loud flute noises.
I'm gonna cast the cantrip True Strike on the pot that he's in.
Can that target an object? Put it up for me. Oh, yes, it can. Fair enough. All right, on your next turn, you will have an advantage on any attack roll against that particular pot.
Awesome.
Cool. That's going to bring us to, I believe it is the boar's turn, which is still just kind of rolling around. It's going to run away. It's in like rough shape from that kind of from that crossbow bolt that Anadolita hit it with before, and it now kind of looks at you with a fury in its eyes, Anadolita, and starts running its way across the room towards you angrily, just snarling as it does, taking over pots. Oldman, it provokes an opportunity attack if you would like to take it.
Well, I suppose I can, as long as I'm going to try to knock it out instead of killing it.
Okay.
With my walking stick, whack!
That definitely hits. You bring it down and the boar kind of collapses to the ground, seeming to be defeated, but then it's just blind rage, keeps it up, and it continues as you've triggered its relentless ability, but it seems on death's door at this point. Just its boar fury keeps it up, and as it plows across the room, it knocks over a couple of different pots. The one in front of you, what does that one do? Oh god, Oldman. I'd like you to roll me a D2. Oldman, as you, and the boar is also going to roll a D2. As this pot gets knocked over next to you, you feel a magic take hold over you, and your body kind of shrinks down in size. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Your body goes up in size significantly as you now tower over this shed. You're kind of like wobbling around awkwardly, trying not to like just step on and break pots as you become massive. The boar, on the other hand, becomes very diminutive. It is now a doll-sized boar that is charging at you, Anadocia. Appropriate. That's the wrong attack. It should have been the tusk. Does a 15 hit, Anadocia?
I believe it does.
It's going to be an additional... because it was charging, it deals an additional 2 damage, but because it was reduced in size, it knocks it down by 3. So in total, you take 1 point of damage as this tiny boar charges into you. I'd also like you to make me a strength saving throw. That is not going to do it. As it crashes into you, despite kind of it not catching you very well with the tusk, it still kind of knocks you over and you fall onto your back prone. That is now going to bring us to Oldman. What do you wish to do?
Well, oh my god, is this what it's like to be tall?
The answer is yes.
Well, I suppose that... Oh, I guess that Mira would like a baby boy. Oh, god dang it.
Classic.
Oldman uses his favorite spell to bring a baby boy to Mira.
All right. You watch as the sleep effect takes hold. What is the radius on sleep?
It is 20 feet.
You, Anadocia, how many hit points do you have?
9.
How many hit points do you have, Oldman?
13.
Anadocia, you and the boar both fall asleep immediately as this effect takes place. This is a huge pace. This kind of like pink dust starts kind of flitting about the area, and the boar just and then collapses to the ground. And you also find, despite being a doll, you find your eyelids kind of growing heavy under the effect of this magic, and also fall asleep. As it passes to the top of the initiative.
Come out! We're friends, right?
Where the pot fiend will go, and the pot fiend is going to. Actually, he's going to use his pot warp this turn. The pot fiend's going to pop up right in front of you, Holly, and is going to make an attack, 2 attacks against you. Or, I'm sorry, an attack against you with his claws. Does an 8 hit?
No.
All right, yeah, it slashes at you with the claws. And that is going to be all for the pot fiend's turn. He kind of ducks back in, but it seems in doing so, he kind of had to break the top off because this pot was already sealed. So he doesn't seem to be able to close the lid on this pot as he hops in. That's going to bring us next to Anadocia, who is asleep. So that is going to, in that case, bring us to. That's going to bring us to Dith. What do you wish to do, Dith?
All right, very surprised and pleased at my new largest spectator yet. I'm going to play. I'm going to play a little tune in his honor.
Are you using your?
Yes.
I was going to say, are you using your bardic inspiration? Oldman, you have been inspired in this moment. You have an 8d6 that you can add to a future roll, but that's only a bonus action. Do you have anything you want to do with your action?
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and decide it's time to put away the flute and take out my hand crossbow and prepare it.
All right. You ready your hand crossbow. I'll say that you can also make an attack action with it if you want to.
Oh, then I kick a nearby pot.
Okay. You kick over a pot. Let me see what happens. As you kick over this particular pot, a strange magic takes hold over you, and you just rotate 180 degrees backwards in place very quickly. But that's all that happens. Okay, that's going to do it for your turn. That is going to bring us to... Holly. The pot fiend is right in front of you, kind of bearing down on you. Duck down into the pot a little bit, but it's not entirely disappeared. What do you want to do?
Can I touch it?
Can you touch the pot fiend? Yeah, I mean, you can just reach down and get him if you want.
I think I'm going to push my hands into the pot and cast Thunder Wave.
He's going to make a Constitution saving throw. He does succeed, but go ahead and roll that Thunder Wave damage.
Can I portent his 19 to a 3?
Absolutely, you can. All right, so you're kind of like facing down with it. Are you like trying to push him away? Or are you just like trying to push him into the ground?
I think, no, I'm like pushing at like the bottom of the pot, and I want the pot to explode so he can't get away.
Okay. Yes, you do this, and both him and a lot of the surrounding pots, not the least of which is a pot that you're very close to, or a pot that Anadolita is pretty close to, not hitting Anadolita, but as it explodes, a huge pile of pots is just disintegrated by the blast. The pot fiend just kind of sprawls out and is now stretched out on the ground, ceramic armor kind of clattering as it lands. And that huge pot in the center of the room also explodes. And within you can hear kind of a as what appears to be a massive bull is in the center of this very large pot that is now also destroyed. That is going to bring us to...
Could I do a bonus action real quick?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I think I'm going to use Hidden Step to turn invisible.
Okay. You use your Firbolg feature to disappear. You watch as Holly explodes a whole corner of the room. The pot fiend is kind of laid out on the ground, and then he just... disappears as we go to Oldman. Oldman, what do you want to do?
Is the pot fiend dead?
The pot fiend, it looks hurt but not dead.
Poor thing. Does this bull look aggressive?
It looks angry. It's quite literally, it is a bull in a proverbial china shop right now.
Hey, Mr. Pot Fiend, we're friends, right? How about we team up on this bull here?
The pot fiend just kind of still charmed, but actually, I believe it gets to make a save again against the charm because someone did something harmful to it, right?
Yes, that's about right.
Or the spell ends when one of your companions does something harmful to it. Yeah, so he's no longer charmed by you. So instead of lifting up his hand and giving a thumbs up, which is what he said, he lifts up his hands and raises a middle finger towards you, still collapsed on the ground, and he's just kind of, ow. What do you want to do, Oldman?
Well, I need to deal with this bull, and I also have an unconscious doll. Oh, God.
You're going to help up Anadolita? You can use an action to wake up Anadolita.
I'm kind of big.
Yeah, it's just, you just use an action.
Well then, I suppose I'm going to tell the other people to deal with Anadolita because I need to scorching ray this bull.
All right, go ahead and make me 3 attack rolls.
Oh, God dang it. I learned this one from the book.
All right, all of those are going to hit.
Boom, boom, boom.
Oof. That is massive damage. All right, 20 points of damage. 3 bolts of fire kind of fly out and strike into the side of this bull. As it kind of like howls out in pain, it looks towards you, fury flaming in its eyes, as that is actually not enough to bring this thing down.
How does it look, though?
It smells like it's delicious. That is going to... I mean, it looks hurt, for sure. That's going to bring us to the pot fiend. The pot fiend stands up, looks around.
I believe you rolled initiative for the bull.
Oh, you're correct. No, I did, I believe. Oh, I rolled it to GM by accident. But I did roll it. Rolled a 17. The pot fiend is going to... the pot fiend is just kind of like smelling the air. He seems furious looking for you, Holly, and is going to attempt to make an attack against you with disadvantage because you are invisible. Which he still hits with a 22. You take 6 points of damage.
Oh, jeez.
And the bull is going to look towards you, Oldman, because the bull is actually going to go next, and is going to run at you. Oh, I rolled it to GM again. I will stop doing that. He does not have advantage, but at the 22 hit.
Yes, it does.
Oldman, you take 10 points of piercing damage as this bull crashes into you, and its massive horns kind of like stick into your side.
Good.
Anadolita, in the kind of chaos that's been erupting around you as this bull kind of moves around and like the pot shatters, you feel some kind of the surrounding like pieces of pottery like crash into you and wake you up out of your stupor. You take a point of damage, but you are now awake.
How much?
1 point of damage. And the turn is yours. What do you wish to do?
Well, once after I get myself up, if I was still prone...
Yep, that takes half your movement to stand.
Okay, then after that, I'll take my action. May I ask about the condition of the teeny tiny boar?
The teeny tiny boar is still sleeping over kind of near where you are. Actually, because the same thing would have happened. The pieces of pot also kind of fell down, but it seemed that one damage was enough to finish off the boar that was on the ground.
I see. Then, does it remain at that size after?
It seems to still be remaining at the little size, yeah.
Then I'll have to try to place that teeny tiny boar into my bag. I might have it for dinner later.
Okay, you take the little boar and put it into your little bag. Anything else? Or that's probably an action to do. If you still have a bonus action, you can do that.
Yes, for my bonus action, is the pot fiend within? Yes, is it within 90 feet?
Absolutely.
Then for my bonus action, I want to be able to cast Hex upon it.
You do so. The pot fiend, you watch as kind of a glow of magical energy kind of appears on it, visible only to you, marking this particular creature with your hex. I believe he has disadvantage on a certain thing now, right?
Yes, I believe I'll try to. I believe the ability I want to have a disadvantage on would be dexterity.
All right, he will have disadvantage on all his dexterity saves. And I think that will be it for you, unless you want to move anywhere.
Also, just before, I'll also like to note that until the spell ends, I can deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage whenever I attack it.
Indeed, you can. Cool. In that case, that's going to bring us to Dith. What do you want to do, Dith? There's a raging bull. There is a pot fiend that's starting to look a little bit beaten up from that thunder blast. All kinds of stuff going on. What do you want to do?
Okay, Dith is going to go ahead and sigh, shake his head, and shoot at the bull.
Okay. Go ahead and make an attack roll for me.
Okay, so it did that.
The 11 actually hits.
Oh, cool.
And you roll damage by clicking on... Yeah, nice. So that's 3 points of piercing damage. a swift hand crossbow bolt flies out. You hear it kind of hit into the side of the bull. It's in its kind of anger. It barely seems to register the strike. It's still very fixated on Oldman at this point, who absolutely torched it before.
Yeah, noticing that and noticing that Oldman has a problem of horns in the gut. Going go. Oh, Oldman. Yeah. Be healed.
Rad. You get a healing word, I assume. Excellent. Oh, nice healing word. You heal up for 7 points. As it passes now to Holly, your turn. You come out of your invisibility, the pot fiend bearing down on you.
Holly's scared.
Okay. Fair.
Oh, jeez. He's gonna cast Burning Hand.
All right. Hitting the pot fiend and all of his... Oh, he has disadvantage on this because of the effect you've just done. So 10. I assume a 10 fails?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah, actually, that hex put it over the top. It's another 12 points of fire damage as it kind of lashes out towards the pot fiend. You see kind of a lot of the pottery start to like dry and crack a little bit around his body, and he seems to be pretty badly scorched. He has the look of a devil, but it doesn't seem like he inherited their kind of hellish resistances, as he seems pretty badly burned. That is going to bring us to so many initiatives to track. That's going to be
Oldman, I believe.
Yep, it's Oldman next. Oldman, you are big. There's all kinds of stuff going on. What do you want to do?
Does this bull look bloodied?
The bull looks pretty beaten up, yeah.
It's less than half hit. Bloody.
Oh, I know. But I'm just telling you, he looks pretty beaten up, is all I'll say.
Okay. Then I am going to cast a magic missile at this point.
All right.
Oh, God damn.
Classic situation. Yeah, you gotta do the front.
Every time.
Yep, me too. 10 points. That's a pretty good magic missile. Your 3 magic missiles course out and all strike into the bull simultaneously. At this point, he is starting to look pretty beaten up, but he's still kind of hanging on as it passes to the top of the initiative, which means the pot fiend will continue to come after you, Holly. It's kind of locked in this one-on-one duel with you, but he also looks near defeat. But he definitely misses with his claw attack as he swings it at you.
Holly like cowers.
And then you see him kind of the claw swings and then he runs away, provoking an opportunity attack. Would you like to do that? You're still actually holding a glowing sword if you want to attack with that.
Yeah, I'll use the glowing sword of power.
All right, go ahead and make me an attack roll. You have roll a d20, and then you can add your strength and proficiency bonus.
Oh, jeez. Can I change to a dagger?
Oh, well, you feel like it'll be more than that, because you can feel the sword guiding your strike to a degree.
Okay, I just don't know how to add that together.
Hold on a second. That's going to be roll a d20 plus, what's your strength score?
+1.
Okay, so roll a d20 plus 3. $16. All right. Plus an additional 5 for the sword's magical bonus. So that's going to be roll a d8 plus a d8 plus 6. That's weird. You did a d8 equals 6, which is weird.
are just keys.
9 points of damage. As you kind of swing this sword, you realize that this is an extremely powerful +5 magic blade. And as you swing it, the magic you watch as it kind of like siphons out of the sword and explodes. At the end of the strike, it becomes a mundane longsword, but you deal 9 points of slashing damage with this sword, and the pot fiend kind of falls over on his stomach, slain, and now there's just an angry bull that is charging at you, Oldman. Or not charging, just right in front of you, trying to trample you. That's 23 to hit.
God. Unconscious.
Does that kill you?
Unconscious.
Okay. Yeah, the bull just, even in his massive size, the bull just kind of tramples over Oldman, and just...
Excuse me, but because the pot fiend died and Hex was still in effect, I would like to...
You want to move it onto the bull?
Yes, please.
Absolutely, and it's your turn.
Yes, one moment. Okay, that would have been as a bonus action. All right, so yes. I believe for my turn, considering what the bull has just did to the old man fella, I believe I shall use Chilling Touch upon the bull.
All right, roll me an attack roll. 20 definitely hits, roll damage, and you get to add an extra d6. Three points, and then roll a d6. Another 2, 5 points of damage. Yeah, your ice blast courses out and strikes into the bull. The bull is on death's door, but not quite finished off. As we pass... Oh.
Additionally, since because of the whole thing with the bonus action, I like to have it. Does the ability disadvantage?
Oh yes.
Strength.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, the bull kind of sags a little bit, almost under its own weight, under the effect of your hex, as it passes to our resident bard's turn. Yeah, sorry, that's you, Dith. What do you want to do?
All right, so Dith decides to go and mock the bull. So he's just like, "Oh, your horns are really tiny, and they can't even pierce paper."
Oh man, you mock the bull, and the bull looks at you now, a rage in his eyes directed towards you. You've almost completely shattered the bull's psyche, but not quite, as the bull is still hanging on, but he did fail.
As a bonus action, can I toss my snake at it?
Do you want to unleash? Yeah, I'll say as a bonus action, you'll throw the snake at it, and then just tell your snake to attack.
Go, Sally!
All right. The snake kind of slithers off your arm and goes up and is going to make an attack against the bull, which hits for 1 point of damage, which is the exact amount of health the bull has left. As the snake, you say, "Go, Sally," and the snake runs off of your arm and kind of slithers on the ground. You see just a slight bite into the bull's leg, which is the straw that broke the bull's back in this case, as it collapses and collapses, kind of like half on Oldman a little bit, who's there kind of bleeding out. But given enough time, you are all able to stabilize Oldman. Oldman, also, you have a despite some recent pain, you did get to experience being large, and you have a pretty good drawing of a snake, or at least a good sketch to go on to begin with. And you have defeated the pot fiend. You watch kind of slowly as the pot fiend's body, having been defeated, kind of turns to hardened clay and just kind of like sinks and melts into the ground. And you have been successful. Kind of you see through that window before. Peytr the elf was kind of watching you, and he opens the door and just says, "You've all done very, very well. I can't thank you enough."
That wasn't fun at all.
As payment, you can just give us all the good stuff in the pots.
Yes, actually, let's go through. And he kind of goes through and breaks them all, and he goes, it seems that I was able to rustle up from all those pots 400 Bartholomew bucks. And he hands each of you 100 Bartholomew bucks, your reward for completing this adventure. He offers to make each of you a custom pot. And all of you gain 1 point of experience, which if you were level 1 means you are now level 2. And you have achieved victory in this first adventure of the night. So congratulations all.
Can I keep the sword?
The sword seems to have lost its magic after that first strike.